All right, y'all. Randall Ledet Jr., we got Hunter Ziesman. We got an extra special guest this episode. We're talking CFP rankings. Just came out, fresh off the press. We got Nick Thurman, one of my boys. We went to college together, former Houston Cougar, NFL guy. Nick, introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Like you said, my name is Nick Thurman. Currently year 7 in the NFL. Been blessed to play for a long time. Went to Houston with Randall, so he actually got to see a lot of my triumphs. And I'm blessed enough to say that while we were on campus, it was literally the best time in UH football history, recent history. So, I kind of hang my hat on that, and I'm just excited to be here, and then thank you guys. So.
Absolutely, man. We're excited to have you, and the times at Houston were so fun. And you know, when I was there, loved talking about football with you. We just had the rankings just came out, and there wasn't a ton of shakeup. We got Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2, Texas A&M sitting at 3, Georgia 4, Texas Tech 5, and then Oregon jumped Ole Miss from 7 to 6 after that win against USC at home. From both of y'all, thoughts on that jump? I think, Hunter, you kind of called it, but thoughts on that jump for Oregon, and do you believe that they are looking better and deserve to be higher than Ole Miss?
I don't see them needing to be higher. I saw that jump happening just because I feel like Oregon has had that like little bit of overvalue all season. Like the eye test, they pass. Like the eye test, they're a good football team. But when you look at the resume, it's like comparing them to Ole Miss, especially if you want to keep Tulane in, right now, they're the projected team for the G5. Ole Miss beat A against Tulane, and then they did beat an Oklahoma team that's looking more impressive, top 10 as well. So I can see that. I could see it coming that they did it. I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah, Nick, we were talking today and you had some thoughts around Oregon and what they might be able to do in the playoffs. So, thoughts on this jump and what you think about Oregon for the season in the playoffs.
I think the jump is very calculated. I think the committee did a good job by not putting them too far ahead. As I look at the teams that are in front of them, we can just go by Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, and Texas Tech. If you just ask any casual, I think they would go with those teams that are in front of them. But what a lot of people are not talking about, at least from what I've seen from Oregon, is Oregon has a underrated defense. Oregon has a swarming defense that creates turnovers, that makes it hard for the opposing team to run the ball to create field position. And that travels. Whenever whether it's the NFL was is college, playoff football is about two things. Can you stop the run? Can you run the ball? Can you cover kicks? And can you coach extraordinary? Can you have that situational awareness to make those adjustments at the time? And I think Oregon has that type of coach. They have that type of coach that can make those adjustments when it's needed be. They also have a great quarterback that's been playing great. He's been kind of flying under the radar. A lot of people, don't really know about him. But I think that's the good thing about the playoffs. All eyes is on you, and this is where you can prove to the people that, you're basically him. So what people are not really talking about is Oregon has one of the best defenses in the country. And I'm excited to see how they match up with other teams in other conferences. They've been playing in the Big Ten, been well, you kind of say they've been dominating, but I'm excited to see what they can do in the playoffs when it all counts, it's all on the line. So
yeah, and they're doing a good job keeping themselves in the position for that home game. It's a tough place to play, obviously up there in Oregon against that tough defense. We saw USC. I mean, they picked up their first ranked win this past week against USC, now sitting at number 17. It's a good booster for them. But like you said, the defense, the eye test, I think is really the key here as to why they flipped with an Ole Miss team. I mean, I think Ole Miss still looks really strong. We've been big proponents of Ole Miss here. So, I mean, I think Ole Miss still looks really strong, but, both home teams.
Both have home games. I think the recency of beating a good USC team, a USC team that's got a lot of respect for beating Michigan. You talked about the Oregon defense. Like we saw them force some turnovers in that game against USC and really kind of stop some of the runs that USC was going on. This spot right now kind of favors Oregon, right? You get the 6th seed. If the playoffs were to start today, they have Miami as the 11th seed. I would imagine that's either going to be SMU or Virginia. And then if you beat SMU or Virginia from the ACC, you're probably playing Texas A&M as a 3 seed. That's a good little path for them. From an Ole Miss perspective, they right now have them playing Alabama, who would be a 10 seed in this. So that'd be a tough one. You pretty much have an SEC championship matchup in the first round of the playoffs. But, Ole Miss, they have a chance to get some style points against Mississippi State. They still have a really good ranked win over Oklahoma right now. That's only looking better and better as the season goes on. And so I guess it's less about the fact that they're an SEC team and more just about the fact that Oregon looked pretty good.
Yeah, to piggyback on what you said, I think we talked about it before show, is that Ole Miss is having their best year ever, if we wanted to be real. And it's all about, especially when the stakes are getting higher and the games are getting tougher, it's all about, have we been here before? Have we been here before? I piggyback on, my story being at U of H, is that we had huge wins the year before in 15, a win against Memphis, a win against Florida State, which had NFL talented players, Jalen Ramsey, Dalvin Cook, all these players. And that helped us catapult us into the next year when we played a Heisman candidate quarterback like Baker Mayfield and Joe Mixon and Andrews and all of these people. So the question about Ole Miss, we know they have a coach. We know they have a coach. They have a quarterback. They have, a run game. Now the question is, when the lights are on at the most brightest, how are we going to perform? Because we've never been there. Personally, we've never been there. We've never gotten up to that level. How are we going to respond? And then we might face our bullies. We might face the people that have had our number for years now. You face an Alabama. If I'm looking at that, I gotta ride with the tide, just because off of the psychological factor of, we haven't beat them, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. That's the true question of Ole Miss. Oregon, on the other hand, they have a better history than Ole Miss. They've been to a national championship with Mariota. They've been to the first playoff. They've been at that stage before.
Yeah.
So in a way, you as a casual, as a fan, I have to give that nod to Oregon, to where I can put them in front of Ole Miss.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, from the experience standpoint, like you mentioned, the Ole Miss players, not a whole lot of experience. Lane having some time in the playoffs from his years at Alabama. The DC over there, Pete Golden, some experience from his time at Alabama. But, with the coaching carousel, the conversations around that, I mean, I would think with Lane Kiffin seeing the Alabama Ole Miss matchup, that's enough to keep him around right now, with how much he reveres the Alabama program, that he wants to get a win in that one. I think the Mississippi State game this weekend, although they're not like a crazy opponent, will tell a lot about the Ole Miss team, because by this past week, I mean, nothing's been happening with this team but rumors around coaching. If they show up undistracted to the rivalry game, I think that says a lot about this team and keeping them where they're at and propelling them into that. They need some movement. They could still make it to the SEC championship game and kind of propel themselves. But I want to see more from the eye test as far as the confidence level of the team.
Yeah, they need an Alabama loss to Auburn. They need another loss in the conference as well. But Texas A&M loss as well to Texas. I saw some tweets from Trinidad Chambliss and tweets from Kawan Lacey. So they're putting it out there that they're focused. I haven't been inside of a college locker room like that, but they definitely are putting it out there that they're focused and they're seeing blood. Kawan Lacey's from your area, Nick, from Dallas, Texas. So he's been having a hell of a season at running back for them. And, kind of going down the rest of the rankings, Oklahoma at 8, Notre Dame at 9, Alabama at 10, BYU at 11. Nothing changed there. And then we have Miami moving up one spot.
Should there be a change there? I mean, should there be a change there? I think is the question. That's the number one question on the internet right now is BYU being disrespected? Is Notre Dame being overvalued? I guess that's the big question here.
If it was up to me, I would put BYU at 9, and I would put Alabama at 10, and I'd put Notre Dame at 11. I don't have any qualms against Notre Dame. I just think that, BYU has probably more ranked wins than Notre Dame, and I think that Alabama's played a tougher schedule than Notre Dame, and so I just don't see how Notre Dame is the highest of all these teams that are in that 2-loss to 1-loss perspective when we look here on the rankings.
I think I want to bring up something interesting about Notre Dame. I do agree with both of you guys' takes, and to say that what hurts Notre Dame is, obviously this is just my opinion, but them being an independent hurts them more than it helps. Just because you don't, obviously, yes, you're handpicking your opponents every year, but it's just no consistency on the type of competition that they're playing every year. I love their running back. I love what they're doing over there. But as far as one game that I want to put on you guys' radar is, they lost to A&M by 1 point. They lost to A&M early in the year. Competed well. Game could have went either way. You know, and that's just something to think about, to see the type of level of talent that they have over there. The same
Yeah.
thing is, they made it far last year. They've been there before. Can they finish the job? Can they come in and be focused and not listen to the outside noise about where they at, what they're doing? Just focus on being 1-0, and whoever's in front of them, whoever's in front of them, we kill. That whoever's in front of them, that's who our focus is. We're not listening to the media. We're not listening to the fans. We're not listening to anybody that has for us. We are in our own driver's seat, and we're going to continue to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're an impressive team. I test all of that. I mean, the losses happening at the beginning of the year, extremely close. Miami, Texas A&M, both of those teams, ranked in their own right. I mean, Miami may be a little low because they do have that head-to-head over Notre Dame that they feel warrants a better placement. But, if I'm comparing, I guess, Notre Dame to BYU, just the two teams side by side, right? Like, they both have 2 ranked wins. BYU picking up their second ranked win with Arizona moving into the rankings. Notre Dame, Pitt moving into the rankings. Both of those road wins for those teams. I guess I look, if that's all the same, BYU 1 loss to the number 5 team in the country. Granted, it was a ass whooping. Like, I mean, on the road, 22-point loss. But I mean, I still want Notre Dame's 2 losses to count for something. Like, I still think that if you put them side by side, like, I would give BYU the nod, even though I do agree that Notre Dame is probably a more impressive team eye test wise, and they look stronger. And I think that they're built for a better run.
And I think what's underplayed, what's under discussed about Notre Dame being an independent is that they don't have any conference standings pressure. Like, yes, you pick your schedule. You can't control if Boise State's good or bad. You can't necessarily control if Arkansas is good or bad. But the principle is, like, they don't have that pressure of, if I lose this game, I'm 3rd in the ACC, or if I win this game, I'm jumping up to 2nd in the ACC, where there's a comparative test against other teams in the conference, and there's no pressure to fit in the standings. You just got to win your games and hope that the games you win look good enough and you win more games than the other teams from other conferences. I just feel like there's no pressure to, in the SEC, it's like, okay, I got to finish in the top 2 or top 3 or top 4, or in the Big Ten, you got to finish top 3 or top 4. Notre Dame just has to literally just win games, and if they lose certain games, it's like, who do we lose to? Like, I that's very under discussed in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean,
I would. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, I could go on the Notre Dame thing all day, so
man.
I'll sit aside.
I think I was gonna say my last point about Notre Dame is, even though they've earned that with their history, and they've earned that, with like, I hate to say it, they're kind of like, hey, I hate to bring it up, they're kind of like the Cowboys, man. They got a great brand. They got got great fans. They got great fans. They got a great brand. Their fans, talk about what they've done in the past all the time. And the one thing about it is, you got to line up and play. So I'm interested. I'm actually going to rebuttal and say, if I'm comparing the 2 teams of Notre Dame and BYU, I'm actually giving a nod to Notre Dame just because I've actually watched BYU a little bit more since, I'm over here to Big 12, but I watched them a little bit more. And I think personally, you know, BYU's defense, or if they were to play, I think Notre Dame's run game and their defense will probably edge them out in that game. If does that make
Yeah.
sense? So
On
yeah.
an even field
Yeah, I think Notre Dame wins that game.
If you put these
I
two
agree
teams
with
on a
that.
field in Kansas, I'm picking Notre Dame.
But to me, the
the
12
games have
team
to
playoff
matter.
is about it's about a resume. What does
The
your
resume,
resume
the
say?
resume,
The resume
yeah.
gets you in the door. I'm not talking
mean-
about who's going mano a mano personally, but I
BYU is
won't
independent.
say anymore.
BYU is independent, did the independent thing, joined the Big 12, have played a Big 12, conference schedule all the way through, only lost one game to a team that's being very highly touted. I mean, has probably the rightful Heisman candidate on their team in my eyes. Mr. Texas Tech over here. I've been getting some comments.
You are Mr. New Big 12 5.
No, he's been balling. He's been balling.
I've been getting some
been balling.
comments. I've been getting some comments about how I'm too Texas Tech or too Big 12, but whatever, man. I mean, they're playing well. They're 10-1. So like, if you're an Alabama team or you're a Miami team, like you can only say so much about it because they're taking care of business on the field.
Yeah, leads us to that next tier, right? Miami, Utah, Vanderbilt, and I cut you off, Hunter. So you were gonna make a point. So what were you gonna say?
We can go back. I mean, just one thing I wanted to say real quick is we've talked a little bit. I mean, we were talking about 9 and 11 with Alabama at 10. The one question, and we've talked about this a few times. Does anything change here with our conversation around it? If Alabama makes the SEC championship game and loses, do you two, I guess, see that affecting their placement? Would they drop out with a loss as long as it's not embarrassing in the SEC championship game?
I personally think, that Alabama, if because I'm confused. What do they actually need in order to make the SEC championship right now? Do they need to
They now control. So all they have to do is win the Auburn game
win
and they're
out
in.
win out?
So I mean, they're going to make the SEC championship game or they're not going to make the playoffs because you lose that game, you're out. You make the game. Is it only something that can boost your resume? I mean, if you lose, then does it hurt you? I guess is one of the questions.
I mean, the argument would be now they're a 3-loss team, and it's the same thing that kind of happened well, I want to say, was it last year, or a few years ago, where you kind of had a Florida State team that was undefeated. Alabama had Alabama
Yeah.
had multiple losses on the year and still made it. So I don't necessarily think it will hurt, but it's always going to be those group of people that says, hey, if Alabama loses the SEC tournament, they're a 3-loss team. They should drop out. I personally, as a football fan, as an eye test as what they can do, I definitely see Alabama as a playoff team.
Yep.
If they do win the SEC championship, then hey, you earned your ticket to get in. So as far as my take to answer your question, I do think it will hurt if they lose. I think it is a must win if they make it to the SEC championship.
I mean, but you got a team not to you specifically, but the Notre Dame situation is Notre Dame sitting at home. They're going to be sitting at home that same week, so they don't even have a chance to pick up a third loss. Whereas Alabama's out there, busting their ass. So that's I guess the side here is like you'll have Oklahoma sitting at home, no chance to pick up a third loss. Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, and Alabama's picking up their second conference loss. Like it obviously the Florida State is bad, and they're getting a lot of leeway.
Yeah, really bad,
really
bad.
I think the Georgia win is helping them be anchored up, and the Florida State loss is terrible. But it'd be their second conference loss. I think that if Alabama was to lose the SEC championship game, I believe they still deserve to be in the playoffs, unless BYU beat Tech in their conference championship. And I think we talked about this on Sunday, Hunter. Then that's a spot that they might be taking with BYU and Texas Tech. I'd be interested to see what the committee does with a 2-loss Texas Tech team, with those two teams splitting that series. It almost would be like a TCU Baylor situation in the 14 playoff. Those teams got knocked out. Ohio State got in, but you got to put one of those put those teams in the conference in. And so BYU in that case would have that spot. So I don't think the SEC in the Big Ten championship losses should affect your playoff chances, because to your point, there's other teams like Ole Misses, the Oregons, Notre Dame's, the the
Oklahoma's.
Oklahomas that they're not even eligible to be in that game. So why do they get the benefit of the doubt of not collecting another loss because they're sitting at home?
Now we can go on to the next. Now we can
Okay,
go
no,
on.
I mean,
I got my Alabama. I got my
Right.
Alabama love. I got my Alabama bid.
You got your Bama
Right,
love.
right.
I mean, we've talked about 3 SEC teams right now that look to be pigeonholed into the playoffs if the playoffs were to start today, right? So Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, really 4, Georgia as well. We haven't really talked a ton about Georgia. They have a chance to beat Georgia Tech this week. Potentially could get a double bye depending on what the committee does with that SEC championship winner, SEC championship participants. The way it looks like, it probably would be a double bye unless Alabama was to beat A&M, in my opinion. But then there's the teams on the outside still trying to fight for one of those 12 spots. And really, I guess kind of 7 spots. But it's Miami sitting at 12, Utah 13, Vandy 14, Michigan 15, Texas 16, and just kind of the hodgepodge of the rest, right? Virginia's 18, so they got to beat Virginia Tech this weekend to get into the AC championship. Really just looking from 12 to 25. Thoughts on any of these teams, their playoff chances, odds? Do they
cutting
fit?
it at 16.
Cut it at 16. Cut it.
I think Texas at this point, I don't think Texas has the capability to get back in. In my personal opinion, I don't think a win over A&M is enough to improve the resume enough. I think that we, right there sitting at that Michigan game with a potential win over Ohio State. Now we're starting to talk teams that can get their way in. Personally, that's kind of how I see it.
Now, what if it was just like absolute chaos? Ohio State loses to Michigan. Alabama loses to Auburn.
They're out.
There's so Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State.
It's
like Oklahoma loses to LSU.
They might be out.
Yeah, Oklahoma loses to LSU. Now the head-to-head favors Texas. And Texas beats the highest ranked team in the SEC. And their only loss is obviously a bad Florida, but
Yeah.
And it's the highest ranked Georgia.
Texas lost to Georgia as well, right? They lost to Georgia. Okay.
Yeah. Lost to Florida. Lost to Florida's bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's worse than the Florida State loss.
I think from 12 to 25, I think the interesting team that I'm seeing is this Vandy team with Diego Pavia and just the same type of argument that I've been making. Vandy's kind of new to this. They've had their best year. They have an exciting quarterback that can extend plays outside the pocket. He can run and tote the ball. Defense is bend don't break, but I have seen them have their moments where they've been shaky. But I think Vanderbilt, if I'm the Vanderbilt head coach, the message that I'm saying to the team is let's focus on us. It's the same thing. Let's focus on us, put the blinders on. Whoever that we have to play or whoever, we got Tennessee this week. We have our rivalry game. Tennessee just came off shellacking from Florida. Really, really, really an impressive. I wouldn't even say impressive win, just a dominant win. Win over Florida. So you playing Tennessee where it's either them or you guys. And one thing, the message I would say to the team is, focus on us, focus on what we do well, which is run the ball, control the clock. A lot of people don't say about that, but Vandy's strategy a lot is to control the clock. I could remember a lot of going back to my days of playing Navy, the reason why those teams that run the ball a lot win a lot is, they have a stout defense, they run the ball, they control the clock. But if they get up 2 scores, now they're just letting you bleed slowly by letting the clock continue to run. So it forces you as an offensive coordinator on the other side to also change your play calling to be more aggressive, which plays into their hand because the defense is going to let you, if I'm up 2 scores, if I'm up 3 scores, the defense is going to I'm going to let you get all that short stuff. I'm going to let you do everything as long as I limit touchdowns in the red zone. Once you get in the red zone, you have to come away with 3. You have to come away with 3. And that's the same strategy that Vandy has done over this year is that they run the ball well. Their defense bends but doesn't break, causes a possession game, because some of their games they've only won by one possession, and that's just off
When close.
of taking care of the ball, running the ball, controlling the clock. So if I'm the head coach, that's the message that I'm saying this week is, look, we have to take it out of Aguilar's hands because he's been playing well. We gotta take it out of Aguilar's hands. We gotta take it out of Tennessee's hands. We have to go up. We have to make sure that we take care of the football. Don't turn the ball over. Run the football. Make sure that the goal is to get up 2 possessions and then get out here healthy and ready for the playoff. So I think that's the message that needs to be displayed
Yeah.
this week.
I mean, it's a good point to bring up on the time of possession. And I before the Kentucky game, doing some research, I don't know how the Kentucky game affected this stat, but they had the most seconds per play. So they're running the clock,
Mm,
like you're saying, controlling time possession. With their resume to get into the playoffs, they lost their ranked win with Missouri dropping out after the loss this last weekend. They have the opportunity to pick up another one. Like you mentioned, Tennessee 19 right now. They would need some shakeup in front of them. Miami to probably
mm.
lose to Pitt. You might need, Alabama to lose to Auburn. Oklahoma, LSU. They need some shakeup in front of them to get in. But they've put together like a decent body of work, even though it doesn't have ranked wins on it, because the
Right,
Texas game
right.
didn't look terrible. It was out of reach. I mean, the score doesn't really show how out of reach the game was for the majority of the game. And then the
Or
loss
even
to
even the
Alabama.
Alabama game, I thought they competed well. I thought they
Did
I
you?
thought they competed. Obviously Alabama came out with the win, but I thought, the score doesn't represent, at least while I watched the game. I thought it
No.
was a lot closer. They do end up
Yeah,
losing that game, but I thought it was a lot closer than what the score
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
yeah, there definitely was some turnovers in the red zone, and they certainly had the opportunity to play, and so it's tough, right? Because Alabama has that head to head. Both these teams have 2 losses to this point. One of these teams has 1 loss in conference, in this case, Alabama. But it'll be interesting to see what Vanderbilt can do. I mean, I feel like they're one of the teams on the outside looking in that has the better shot if chaos was to happen to get into the top 12. Same with Miami. The other teams, and as Hunter mentioned, like after 16, it's kind of like a waste of time to try to figure out
Mm,
what those scenarios
yeah.
look like. But, all this to say, I feel like we're kind of getting at that final bracket. I don't know everything happening in the American, but right now Tulane's the highest ranked American team.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you follow Houston, you know that Houston hired Willie Fritz, former Tulane coach, and the current Tulane coach is kind of being shopped around across the SEC between Auburn, Florida, and the likes. But Texas Tech's got a favorable matchup. They would probably play Tulane. The other first round matchup would be Notre Dame, Oklahoma, 8 versus 9. We talked about Ole Miss, Alabama. It's shaping up to look like a pretty good playoffs where I really think we'll find the best team out of the teams that are currently in right now.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think this year it's a lot of contenders. I will say, by Michigan winning it last year. Am I correct that they won last
Year
year? No,
year
they did
Two
before.
not.
years ago.
No,
Yeah.
Ohio State. Sorry. By Ohio State winning it last year. Ohio State, truthfully, they've had a good year. But to me, this Michigan game is going to really convince me that they deserve to be where they need to be. But just the overall year of college football, it's a lot of contenders. It's not the one bully that we like. Oh, back in the day where Nick Saban's Alabama. Oh, that's the team to beat. Like
Yeah.
that's the team we got to watch out for. That's the team we got to prepare
Yeah.
for. It hasn't been that much. I feel like it's like everyone can get it. Like everyone has an opportunity to fall. So it's going to be a great playoff because you got teams that are hungry. You got teams that have invested in and put resources in their team, and they want to see it flourish. They want to see if this formula of the new age of college football actually works to where you actually put resources in your program. You can see it flourish. You can see it potentially get you a national championship.
Yeah. And a
Yeah.
lot of teams are going to see their first opportunity. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned Ole Miss. We got, Texas A&M. You have
Texas Tech.
Virginia, Texas Tech, Virginia potentially coming in for the ACC.
Indiana.
Yeah,
But
Tulane coming in from the G5 spot. UNT, kind of one of those teams competing for it. Their coach just took off to OK
to
State
Oklahoma State. Yeah.
Today,
Yeah.
JMU, good win last week over Washington State. So the G5's kind of heating up. But yeah, it's wrapping up. It's going to be a good year, a good playoff bracket. one more week of games, and then the conference championships to kind of wrap it up and see who gets the final nod.
Yeah. So, I mean, last question for you, Nick. I mean, out of the football you've watched, I mean, of these 12 teams, who do you like? And then we'll kind of wrap up from there. Like who
Who
do
I
you
like
like?
winning it
Who
all?
do you
Win
like
it
to win it
all?
all, or which teams you think are in contention to win it all?
Oh
Like if
my
you had to pick
goodness.
two to
Loaded.
3 teams. Like let's not go crazy. Like let's go 2-3 teams.
I would say, man, honestly, who I got winning it all is the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Me personally, I just think they're a nasty team. I think their defense is good. I said it to you earlier. I think Gunnar Stockton and the defense is really going to determine how far they go. Gunnar Stockton is playing lights out. If the defense is playing lights out, you cannot mess with Georgia. Georgia has plenty of athletes and plenty of people. They have the coach, they have the experience, they have everything they have in front of them in order to win another national championship. My dark horse, man, that's actually really tough. I mean, I could go Ohio State. I mean, but they're not really a dark horse. They're number one
Yeah.
in the country. I would honestly have to say Oregon.
Yeah.
Like I came in the beginning of the show. The defense was playing well. They have a great coach. They have a great quarterback. But I can see them being that team where no one wants to play them, and they end up in the national championship. And at that point, all it's all about one game. It has nothing to do with what's happening now or how we get here or what we did. We are here now, So I think as far as the dark horse concerned, I got the Oregon Ducks.
All right.
Okay.
I like those two picks. I think
they're both good picks. I mean, I think Georgia right now looks to be the best team in the SEC. We'll see if they can prove it with some scenarios happening that Hunter probably wouldn't want to see. But I think they have the best SEC win resume between Tennessee and some of the other teams they've beat in the conference. Yeah. I think dark horse. I like Tech. I think Tech can do some things if they can. If I mean, depending on who they play in the 4 seed, if they say the 5, I think Tech could easily get to the semifinals. And then I would maybe say Oklahoma's defense is so mean. Like the best teams that have won the championships have had that level of defense. Like Ohio State had an amazing defense last year. Michigan had an amazing defense. I know Oklahoma's offense is awful. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of JJ McCarthy. I think he's better than John Mateer. But if Mateer could get even somewhat slightly close to McCarthy, that defense could easily will them to a championship.
Yeah. Number 1 in sacks in the country right now. We did the Oklahoma LSU preview. If anyone listening wants to check that one out, because we just talked about how much this defense can carry a team no matter how the offense is performing. Yeah. I mean, they've done it against teams on this list, Alabama being one of them. So yeah, I think Oklahoma's kind of my dark horse. I think my favorite to win it all. I'm going to pick Texas A&M. I like A&M. I think that they're dangerous in all aspects. I mean, if everything is clicking for this team, they're the most dangerous across the entirety of the positions. If the running backs are healthy, the receivers are clicking, Marcel Reed's making good decisions, pass rush is there. They're the most complete, I think, if it comes together. So that's what I got.
So none of us mentioned Indiana, but there's a lot of good talent out there. Hey, I got to see it in the Big Ten championship. I trust them, but I got to see it against a little. You got to beat the creme de la creme. The Big Ten to me, we've seen Penn State be good. We've seen Michigan be good. It's always about, can you beat Ohio State or can you beat one of the top teams in the conference? I don't care what you really do against Oregon. I don't really care what you do against Washington and all these other schools. Show me what you do against Ohio State. Show me what you do against a good Penn State, and then I'll tell you how I really feel about you. So, it's been so fun having you. I like me and Hunter. We've been talking college football now for like 3 hours this evening along. So we could do this for hours, and I love it. And so, I want to know if you're watching our show, what you think about the new CFP rankings that just came out. Did they get it right? Where did they go wrong? Who do you think is a contender right now? How does the bracket look? Drop some comments below. We always love talking college football, recaps, previews, special segments. And Nick, once again, thank you for joining. Any last thoughts for the listeners, and we'll sign off after that.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you for the opportunity to join the show. Thought this was great. And, I'm really excited to see how everything plays out of what we said. If we're just full of, if we just full of it, or if we actually know what we're talking about. So
Well,
I'm actually excited to see how the playoffs go from here on out.
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
It'll definitely be a good one. So thank you all once again for tuning in. I'm Raylan Jr. We got Hunter Ziesman, and Nick joined, of course, as well. So until next time.